Broward Workshop is a diverse group of business leaders from Fortune 500, global entrepreneurs to small business. We all have one thing in common. We value Broward County as a home that we cherish.
The workshop was established in 1981 by 18 members and quickly became a group of key business leaders, including Wayne Huizinga, Ralph Marinson, Buddy Lockery, Gene Whitten. These are some of the people who had that vision and that passion to see us grow from a small town into this metropolis that we are today.
The Broward Workshop is a group of 100+ really smart ladies and gentlemen. We've got diverse opinions about what the future is, but we come together on one key thing, and that is improving the quality of life in Broward County.
We are a private, non-profit, nonpartisan group of Broward business leaders that look at what the big issues are in our county, look at who's addressing them, seeing if there's a role for our group to help.
As a corporate community, we have unique skill sets. We have unique experiences that actually translate well to help the county.
We have so many people involved who really created Broward and Fort Lauderdale as we know it, and we get a chance to learn from and work with them and take Broward to the next level.
The Broward Workshop has an annual retreat. All of us get together to look at what are the critical issues, and at the end of it, decides what the priorities are going forward.
Once a month, we have our board meetings at the Broward Center for the Performing Arts.
A lot of people show up very, very early in the morning because we're interested to find out what's going to be talked about that day.
I learn things that I would not have learned through our monthly programs. We get access to speakers who can deep dive into what's going on.
We have a bunch of committees that each have general topics. One perfect example of that is the Marine Research Hub.
Right now, we're right at the forefront of solving the homeless issue. Education is critically important. Technology is booming in Broward County, and we're working to support that in so many ways. Broward Workshop got behind the sales tax increase.
We realized that if we want to continue to grow and thrive as a community, you have to make investments in key infrastructure type activities, such as transportation.
There are multiple organizations on this town working on tourism, but what we've done is bring them all together. There's a coalition now, and whatever needs to be done, we make sure it gets done.
Broward Workshop puts on an event called the State of the County Forum. It is now grown to 1,000 attendees. It's an opportunity for us to educate them on some issues that we feel are important and hopefully to take those issues and move them forward.
I got to raise my children here. I've grown my business here. The least I could do is to give back to this county, and I think that's the way all our members feel.
It's incredibly energizing to be part of something that facilitates change that might make the whole county better for every single person that's living here.
We come together and build the best community possible. That doesn't happen just by fate, it happens by effort.
We make things happen.
The quality of life that people are going to have in Broward County is only going to get better because of Broward Workshop.
Economic vitality is essential to have a successful community, and that's what we're good at. And we are committed to roll up our sleeves and make a difference. We see the possibilities of what Broward can be, and we are determined that it thrives.
Good morning, Broward Workshop and all of our friends. Thanks for joining us today for our Broward Workshop State of the County virtual meeting, our second virtual meeting. We look forward to getting back together again next year. We have a fabulous meeting today. This is the one meeting where I think we get the best update about what's going on across our entire state and particularly in our county. And we've got many of our best leaders, and we're going to get updates along the way. So we're delighted that you're here. I would like to start with, everybody take a look outside. I mean, right now, if you got a window out there, take a look outside and just thank the good Lord, because we are blessed with this beautiful community that we live in, this beautiful state, this wonderful country, and the great world that we live in. And on the days like now, you're gonna hear from Stacy Ritter, it's a lot easier to sell this county and this community because of the wonderful weather we enjoy pretty much all the year. I'm very, very happy that you're here with us today. And we're going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. So I don't know how I rise. I got to stand up. I'm going to virtually stand up, okay? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And then we're going to go right into the national anthem. It's going to be, we're delighted to have Ms. Jocelyn Escobar, junior majoring theater, representing Everglades High School in Miramar. Go ahead, Jocelyn.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Jocelyn. That was beautiful, as you are, and we're proud of you and the Broward County students, and we just can't wait to see all the wonderful things that you accomplish in the years to come. Go for it, girl. You got the talent. You've got the opportunity here in wonderful United States of America. Now I'm going to go off script for a second because I'm going to ask everybody to give me a little moment of personal indulgence, and I'd ask you to join me for a short moment of silent prayer. This past Saturday, we lost one of our cornerstones of our community, a wonderful guy named Jimmy Dunn. Jimmy Dunn has and his wife Anne Marie and their son Sean run J.R. Dunn Jewelers, and Jimmy passed away on Saturday. He was just a prince of a guy and a wonderful guy. So just join with me for a moment of silent prayer and remembering Jimmy. Thank you very much. He was a wonderful guy. He's going to be missed. I mean, the wonderful thing about our community is so many great people. And like many, Jimmy came from somewhere else. Like our family came from New Jersey. It's just wonderful how we've come together and created this wonderful community. Next step on this, I'd like to acknowledge our dignitaries that are here. We're delighted to have so many in our audience. And I'd like to say that the people in this meeting today that are here, thank you for your service. Whether you're running a business or whether you're involved in a community or if you're involved in politics or any organization in our community, you're the folks that are making Broward County wonderful and making it happen. For your companies, for your associates, for our community, for our state. I'm very grateful. And we draw the 1,000 people that really make things happen on this. We've got 1,000 people on this call today. And I want to thank everybody. I can't recognize everybody, but I'm going to recognize the speakers when they're introduced during the program. We've got state representatives, we've got Broward County commissioners, and our county administrator, Bertha Henry. Bertha I've gotten to be good friends with her through this, and what a class act. And she has done a spectacular job as county administrator for Broward County. She's going to be retiring in February. Monica's going to be taking her place. I think she's groomed Monica exceedingly well, and hands out for that wonderful choice. And thank you, Bertha, for your years of service. We are better because of that. We've got city mayors, city commissioners, city managers. We got Broward County School Superintendent, my friend Bob Runcie, school board members and administrators. We have several agency directors and representatives from the airport, Port Everglades, MPO, FDOT, and SFRTA. Broward Sheriff's Office and local law enforcement officers, thanks for keeping us safe. You guys and gals do a spectacular job. I am very proud of the work that you do in our community. And I mean, I wave to my plantation police officers every time I see them. I say, thanks for your service and thanks for keeping us safe. And they say, oh, you're welcome. Commissioners for both Memorial Healthcare and Broward Health, running our big organizations, South Florida businesses, not-for-profit, civic leaders. We've got tons on this call today. I want to thank our very special guests, the men and women who have served and protected this great nation on our behalf, members of the U.S. Armed Forces and all those veterans. Thank you for your service. And finally, I'd also like to thank the members of the Broward Workshop who make this wonderful event possible. They continue to dedicate their time and resources to making Broward County a great place to live, to work, and play. Everybody on the Broward Workshop, I can tell you, have pure motives. And it's just a good organization, and we don't change the world, but we try to improve our community every day. All right, so the overview and reason for the event is there are approximately 500,000 attendees on this webinar this morning. We're going to be recorded, so it's going to be showing. And it's a testimony of how strongly we feel about Broward County. We appreciate you joining. Broward Workshop continues to explore ways to find solutions. We work together. We work with other organizations and other people. We try to find ways to make it a little bit better in our diverse and growing community. And over the years, this forum has provided the workshop an opportunity to open a community dialogue and highlight key issues such as infrastructure needs, the airport, the seaport, the mass transit. I'm proud that a lot of our people have tried to move that forward. The late Terry Stiles was very active. He put tons of effort into the airport approvals necessary. And we like to think that we made a little bit of a difference there. We researched the unfunded pension liabilities and post-retirement benefit costs of our 31 municipalities and try to make some recommendations there. Supported the needs for improved educational standards and accountability for our children. And along the way, we heard a few good political speeches. So without delay, let's get started. We're lucky, the big thing of obviously the big issue of the last few years or the last year and a half has been COVID-19. And we're proud that we have Shane Strum, who's our new CEO and our dear friend, who is our CEO of Broward Health. And we have Aurelio Fernandez, who is the president and CEO of Memorial Healthcare System, and Dr. Bernie Fernandez, who is the CEO of the Baptist Medical Group. They've been able to give us at the Broward Workshop every month really important updates, and they're going to be here to talk about that with us. And I'm delighted to say, before I turn it over to Aurelio, I'm proud of how you guys handle this. Sure. I'm proud as a citizen, and I'm proud of how our state handled this, and I'm proud of how our county handled COVID-19. It's been a terrible tragedy. We've lost friends and family members, and it's affected everyone, but it's been a pandemic that I think you've handled well. And so, Aurelio, let's start off with you. Could you give us an update?
Sure, and good morning, Broward Workshop. And today what we're going to try to do is to give a overview of where we were, what did we do as far as getting Broward County in a safe environment, and then Dr. Fernandez will share the science as to the importance of vaccination. But the first graph I want to show is a heat map of the United States, but more importantly, the state of Florida. And if you look on the far right, Broward is still on a high risk alert. It is declining, but we're still not out of the woods. Next slide, please. I want to concentrate on the numbers at the top. This is on the left, it's a high risk level. We're at 11.8. We need to be under 10 to be on a medium risk status. So Broward County is still not out of the woods. The positive thing is the infection rate is at 0.79. That's the only green monitor that we have in Broward County. We're using a database called COVID Act Now, which is used by most hospitals in the state of Florida to measure what's going on with the pandemic. Our positive test rate is on a yellow code, which is medium risk, which is also much improved over prior months. And then the county has been already 49.1% of the residents of the county have been vaccinated at least once, and 38.1% have been vaccinated twice, fully vaccinated. Next slide. So here's the graph that depicts what has happened since the beginning of March when the pandemic hit Broward County. And as you can see, the spike really took place in July. And there's a correlation between holidays and folks not adhering to CDC guidelines and all of a sudden having the positivity rate that we experienced. And the 4th of July weekend, we saw the highest spike at the end of July and beginning of August. So it takes about 2 to 3 weeks. We ended up having 240, during the course of the last 15 months, there have been 241,000 residents of Broward County that have been affected by COVID. Over 10,400 admissions to the 16 hospitals in Broward County. And unfortunately, we have had 3,060 deaths during that same period of time. I'm very proud to say that the Broward Workshop took a very engaging approach after this surge, so that when Labor Day weekend came about, we were adhering to CDC guidelines. Organizations were requiring masks, social distancing, and you see that after Labor Day, we did not see a spike until the holidays in December and Christmas and New Year's, where families got together. And that's stressed the system even more, because by that time, the healthcare industry, had the necessary PPEs, protective equipment, but the staffing requirements was really a challenge for everyone in South Florida. We're glad to see that the graph is showing a decline, and we're seeing now, as you notice, we're in a high risk, which is an orange code, which is much improved over the prior first quarter of the year. Next slide, please. Here's the positive test rate, which I referred to at the outset. We are at yellow at 5.3. In order for us to be in the green, it requires less than 3% positivity rate. And I'm convinced that we will get there very, very shortly with the push on vaccinations. Next slide, please. This, the data that we have is, became available in September. So you can see again, these are the number of hospitalizations in Broward County that we're monitoring, especially after the Christmas holidays. Again, you see that there was a peak in the number of admissions to the hospital. The next slide, please. The hospitalizations per 100,000 of the population, what we have here is Broward County in the blue compared to Miami-Dade County. We did much better right after the Christmas holidays, but as you can see, we're slightly higher than Miami-Dade County as we speak. And the next slide compares us to the state of Florida. And as, the state of Florida has seen a decline, but you're dealing with a very areas that are remote. I believe that we will continue to see a decline. At least in our organization, we have seen a decline. And in my conversations with other hospitals, everyone has experienced a decline here in Broward County. So things are moving in the right direction. I do want to recognize a couple of individuals that helped tremendously Broward County be in the forefront during this pandemic. And that is Shane Strum and his commitment to Broward County, not only here, but in South Florida, because South Florida did become the epicenter. And also Jared Moskowitz, who was the director of emergency management in Tallahassee. And they provided us with the resources necessary to address all the issues. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Shane Strum, who's going to go over what the industry did in collaboration to address the issues of the pandemic. Shane?
All right, I'm here. I hope you all can hear me. Thank you, Aurelio. Thank you for the kind introduction. And just for what a great panel today, you know, with Aurelio Fernandez and Dr. Bernie Fernandez. You've got 3 large healthcare systems here in South Florida. And I can tell you firsthand how hard they worked. So really this part is the collaboration, what took place at the state and local levels to ensure that Floridians had some of the best outcomes during this pandemic. Now, hopefully you could see the slide up there. Let's see here. Okay. That's our nice word cloud collaboration. Hopefully you all like it, but I'm going to take just a minute or a point of personal privilege. You know, Keith, you've done an amazing job as the chairman, and a lot of people don't realize that during COVID, during the pandemic, you and the entire workshop never stopped. You always were constantly asking, what can you do for the community? What can you do for the state? And all the partners were really incredible. And I think about all the people we interacted with. I mean, the hospitals were constantly on the phones. I mean, you can ask Aurelio and Bernie, and at the time, Mayor Holness and Geller, Bertha. I mean, we were on nonstop with the governor in our constant pursuit of data, information, and how to get things out there. You know, another great person Aurelio mentioned was Jared Moskowitz, another Broward guy. So Broward really had a seat at the table. Broward really made sure that we were able to collaborate really across all the lines. So I have a little, hopefully you can see it up there, the word cloud, which I think is pretty cool. But I've come to know many of you. I've had a lot of regional and statewide roles throughout my career. And kind of some of the things we wanted to reflect on the pandemic was what was most remarkable to me is the collaboration that occurred here in South Florida and many of the systems. It was the first time really ever. I mean, we're competitors, but we're friends, but we actually laid down the competitive natures and performed collaboratively, probably for the first time ever. It was really impressive to see the collaboration start at the top with the CEOs, with the ACA secretary, with the Surgeon General, with the Department of Emergency Management. There were even task force. I don't know if you're aware, but there were CEO task force, and then the chief medical officers and the chief operating officers. They were really from all around the county and the region, and they were really working hard to create, you know, healthcare workers and making sure we had the resources and personal protective equipment for medications and other things that were needed. Our marketing departments, our communication teams formed coalitions to effectively communicate health education on social distancing, masking, new treatments, vaccines. I sat on many of those calls from Tallahassee. I witnessed the development and activation of plans, policies, dashboards, tactical measures, everything that played an effective role in really managing COVID-19 and really, you know, what provided a path for the exit for the pandemic. So let's go to the next slide. Let's see. All right. Yeah. So let's go next. So this is a great slide. This will tell you a little more about kind of what happened. What did the governor do? What did Governor DeSantis and the offices in Tallahassee do? How instrumental were they? What did they do to ensure that hospitals really had the necessary PPE, therapeutics, staffing, you know, all of the leading, really Broward took an incredible role. I mean, they were the first testing site to open in mid-March. It's kind of amazing when you think back how long ago and how long we've been struggling and pushing through this. So if you think about it, Broward County and its hospitals were able to operationalize, stand up the COVID testing sites. I think it was March 1st in Florida. We had I guess it was March 1st. We had our first lab identified positive case of COVID-19. Within 2 weeks, the first test sites were set up and accepting patients. So just that kind of a fun few facts. The governor declared a public health emergency on March 1st. I'm guessing in about the next 90 days, the state received over 30,000 mission requests, 30,000 mission requests. That's 3 times more than that of the last Category 5 hurricane. The state then went on to open up another 90 testing sites, testing more than 5 million people before transitioning and testing and vaccinations. I mean, what an amazing job on the vaccines and how many people were vaccinated. You'll hear more from Dr. Fernandez really on some of those things. And as all of the counties set up the testing sites, their Broward was once again on the front lines. You're seeing that kind of phase out now and being transitioned to all the retail. You could go to Walmart, Publix, CVS, Sam's, all of those have them. But, you know, as the demand for PPE continued, it wasn't just for our healthcare systems, but also nursing homes, first responders, you name it, businesses. The state had to procure more than 80 million masks, 21 million gloves. Jared Moskowitz was on the front line making sure all that was happening. And I'm proud to share that, you know, Broward Health really was outstanding. They had a great procurement team. And when I arrived here, they had somehow not predicted the pandemic, but had a great understanding that they would need to have supplies. And early in January of 2020, believe it or not, the team had actually had all the coverage. Not once did the healthcare system ever have a shortage with PPE. So really a big thanks to the state, all the other organizations that helped us. I believe today the state still has about 24 million masks, 10 million gowns, maybe 10 million gloves, and a lot of other things that are built up and stored. So when we need them, or if we need them again, they're there. Look, there were a lot of hardships. The economic hardships were experienced, but I'll tell you what, the state distributed almost $1 billion in CARES Act dollars, and the local municipalities received a lot of that money, especially the county. I mean, we work hand in hand with Bertha and Monica to make sure those dollars were distributed and sent out. And beyond the funding and what we received directly, the feds got more stuff, the cities interacted and worked well together. We started to look at what was the prospect of a vaccine. The state had to kind of start thinking about next steps and what we would need to do. Believe it or not, Jared, I think he acquired about 5 million syringes, Band-Aids, and alcohol swabs. And we started being told there would be all sorts of testing that was going on. So we were ramped up and ready to go. Once we started the testing and care and the vaccine, we really wouldn't have been able to do it without the healthcare systems coming together. And a lot of the other folks were Department of Health, Department of Emergency Management, believe it or not, law enforcement. The National Guard was mobilized for the logistics part. A lot of you, when you went to the early testing sites and vaccine sites on there, tens of that. I mean, the nurses across the state were really, truly financial. So just everybody was on the front line to make sure things happen. So why don't we leave resources and go to the next slide? See if that's up there. All right. Yeah, finances, of course, COVID-19 and our response didn't come without a cost. I mean, emotionally and fiscally, COVID it really had an economic impact globally, but particularly it affected the bottom line of Broward County healthcare system. I mean, these folks were on the front line working, and it really put our financial performance at risk. So on the chart, you can see, I think you can see, yeah. So on the chart, you can see the financial performance. Here's Broward Health System on today's call. You can see, let me draw your attention really to the total COVID, which reflects losses incurred and reduced care of non-COVID related illnesses. So you can see that these healthcare systems, and Dr. Fernandez will share more, really all of us put up a tremendous amount of money. Look, did we spend a lot? Absolutely, but it was worth it. It was a 1 in a 100-year pandemic. So I think the data reflects that the number of individuals who are not receiving care is absolutely something we need to look at. Yes, we've paused electives. That was for a few short months, but we're back. That played a large part in our revenues. But more importantly, I want to spotlight the thousands of community members, who temporarily, their pause in care has turned into a long-term dismissal of their health. We need to talk long-term care. We need to tell people it's time to go back. I think a week or so ago, ProPublica published an article, and it really documented the impending crisis of undiagnosed cancers. And here, certainly at Broward Health, we're experiencing some of those similar problems. So we want to encourage you to get back out there and do your health screenings. I'll just give you some quick examples, but colon cancer screenings are down over 60% from prior year. That means people have conditions that are left undiagnosed and untreated. This is a critical issue, not just for Broward, but for everybody, for our entire community. So I'd really ask everyone if they can, really to kind of push hard, get people to come back out, see their primary care physicians and talk to some of the others. I see they put up our last slide here, but this is a great one. When you look at it, this tells the whole story. This was on the front page of the Sun Sentinel. I mean, this is the future. This is the vaccine, the excitement that happened when this rolled out. So what leads us out of the pandemic? What did we have to face over the last 14 months? Well, the vaccine. And when it arrived, there it is, the front page of the Sun Sentinel. That's the Broward Health and the Memorial Healthcare System working together. It's hard to believe that it's already been 5 months since the first doses of Pfizer arrived in Broward County. And then on that amazing day, you can see it there, we were sharing with our sister hospital, the Memorial Healthcare System. They arrived here at Broward Medical Center. And that's when everyone started believing we could end the pandemic. We had some great moments. Our frontline workers, our physicians were getting the shots. They were overjoyed. And really, since that time, we've all witnessed really historic public and private entities really working on vaccine sites, programs. And to date, you heard Aurelio talk a little bit, over 10 million Floridians vaccinated, or I think they have been vaccinated. And then Broward Health alone vaccinated more than 100,000 employees, community members. And we did it all here at the Fort Lauderdale Stadium, which is now the Inter Miami Stadium. And that wouldn't have been possible without Mayor Dean Trantelis of the city of Fort Lauderdale and Inter Miami. I mean, they stepped up to the plate. They helped us put the stadium together. They didn't ask for any money or anything. They just wanted to help the community. So the vaccine efforts across all of our municipalities, I think, went extremely well. Tomorrow, all statewide vaccine sites will really transition to county health departments. Primary care providers and local governments will be ending the state's role in the vaccination. Federally supported sites administered their last doses on Tuesday. And we're really now at a point where we can look to our future, thanks to the safety and efficacy of the vaccine. And really talking about the safety, the vaccines and everything else, I get to turn it over to Dr. Fernandez, who will share even more. But I want to just thank the workshop, the county, the city, and everybody else who was on the front line, making sure that Broward led the way. And we were called the Sunshine State for a reason. And you'll hear a little later from Stacy Ritter, but we're moving in the right direction. So thank you. Dr. Fernandez.
Hey, Bernie, I got to step in. I got to say, hey, I'm the time police. I'm the time policeman. We're going to run a tight ship here. So, Bernie, give us your comments, but please stay on a tight time. Thanks.
Okay, we're going to go really quickly. And so thank you, Shane. Next slide, please. So this just gives you an idea of the number of deaths that we're still experiencing in this country. And I'll put it in the context that this is about 600. It's now a little over 500. This is still 2 jetliners every day that are dying of COVID. So put that in that context. We're down from 3,500 a day that we were experiencing. So still affecting many of our communities. Next slide. This is our first most emotional photograph. One of the first ICU nurse at Baptist Health to receive the vaccine. Next slide. And this is the vaccination status for the country, where we stand in comparison to other countries. I'll point your attention. We are in a global environment, so the world getting vaccinated is critically important to the safety and well-being of our own community. So pulling and helping has been done at the federal government with other countries like India, who's in the world of trouble right now with the new mutations. It's something that we need to keep an eye on in Broward. Next. And again, we reached the milestone yesterday. Over half of all the adults in the United States are now fully vaccinated, and this is what's going to get us out of this. Next slide. And this is the rate at with which we were vaccinating our people. And I believe when some of the issues came up with the Johnson & Johnson, we dropped from 3.5 million people a day to a little over 1.5 million people a day receiving the vaccine. Next. Vaccine, much has been talked about. Essentially, I'm just giving you some of the items that are some of the components of the vaccine. Again, the mRNA, it's got some alcohol in it, cholesterol. These are the Pfizer and the Moderna primarily, potassium, and then they've got the sugar in it, sucrose. Next slide. How do they work? By you receiving this, it forces your body to make the spike protein. Your body does not make a COVID virus. It creates a spike protein to which you then develop an antibody to. Next. And this is some of the data published in all 3 of the vaccines, demonstrated on the top line. The people that were on the placebo arm continued to become sick. The folks that were on the treatment arm or the vaccine arm essentially did not get sick or they get hospitalized or experience any deaths. Some of the myth busters, you hear everything about the vaccine. They do not affect, there's no data at present that they affect fertility. They cannot be spread from person to person. They're not made from the virus. It's a protein. They do not alter people's DNA. We've heard things like they contain nanochips. They don't contain nanochips, and they cannot cause the COVID-19 infection. They appear safe and they're effective, and there's great data that still continues to be followed. Next. And I want to reassure you that the data continues to come in droves, and it's almost like drinking water out of a fire hydrant. Over 125,000 articles have been published since as of 4/27/21, 118,000 in the last year. I want to give you the reassurance that the surveillance and therefore is extensive as to the safety of the vaccines and advancements in the treatment of COVID-19. Next slide. A lot of talk about this. This is the cause of the cerebral venous sinus thrombosis, an unusual event that occurred in some of the patients that were randomized to the vaccine group. Again, as of April 23rd, the CDC reinstated again and the FDA the approval of the vaccine. Next slide. I want to put those blood clots in the context of something that we all know very commonly: birth control pills. Birth control pills actually cause blood clots, including cerebral venous sinus thrombosis, more often than getting an AstraZeneca vaccine or any of the other vaccines. COVID-19 infection in and of itself also causes thrombosis or blood clots like strokes, heart attacks, and clots in other arteries and veins in our bodies. Therefore, being protected by getting the vaccine will pale in comparison to this incidence of the blood clots. Next slide. 5 biggest risk factors we all need to keep an eye on. If your age, the older you are, the more chance you have of complications, chronic diseases, immunocompromised. Simple things as Crohn's, so having rheumatoid arthritis, so you take any immune modulating medications, that puts you at higher risk. Smokers, obesity, and there's some evidence that being a male actually carries a higher risk. The vaccines are effective in adults, they're very protective. We've talked about that. You've seen in the news media. Next slide. Again, publications that are also very effective even in healthcare environment. Very important to protect our healthcare workers. Next, 1 dose of the vaccine alone can cut the transmission in an household by half. Next. Other benefits, the chances of getting reinfected are certainly there, but the reinfection rates are lower. And if you do get reinfected, the amount of viruses that you're producing in your body will be much lower. They're safe in pregnancy. Next. Again, the variants, we're much talked about all the variants so far. The evidence appears to be that the vaccines are also effective against the variants. Next slide. And this is some of the publications, likewise, that come out in the New England Journal of Medicine. Next. And I realized we are really trying to fly through this. So again, choosing safer activities. If you're vaccinated, you see all on the right, this is available to you on the CDC website. Next slide. The new versions and the boosters already being worked on. Some of the versions that are being worked on, the mRNA, actually include some of the variants, so they'll be even more effective than the variants in the future. Next slide. And this is the early Moderna publication. Next. I wanted to have pause on this slide for just a moment. This is all the admissions at Baptist Health that we have had since the pandemic started. I want to point your attention that these are daily admissions into our hospitals. From a peak of 125, we're now down to about 20 to 30 patients being admitted every single day. For the healthcare workers at Broward Health, Baptist Health, and Memorial, this pandemic just has continued. It has been exhausting, and our teams are tired. Next slide. Imagine, for every patient that you take care on the COVID unit, this is what you have to wear. Take them on, take them off, and go see the next patient. It's a very tiresome, and we're indebted gratitude to those frontline heroes. So what you can do on behalf of all the healthcare workers, other frontline workers, get vaccinated. And again, I want to thank you on behalf of Aurelio, Shannon, and myself. Most important, our healthcare heroes. Next.
Bernie, hey, oh yeah, you did great, Bernie. You did great. And that was drinking out of a fire hose right there. But the essence of what you said came across, and that is get vaccinated. And the vaccines are working, and it's really changing the game. We're grateful to all of our healthcare heroes. We're grateful for our leadership, but we're really grateful for the folks that are on the front lines that are dealing with this pandemic on a daily basis. So, hey, I got my shots, and I'm
Thank you.
Feeling good. And by the way, you can go shop furniture without a mask if you've gotten your shots. So there's a side benefit.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, we'll have a whole slide on that. All right, now we're going to get into our Broward County speakers. We're lucky to have really our leadership from Broward County reporting out to us. I'd like to introduce first our Broward County Commission Mayor, Stephen Geller, Broward County. Honorable Stephen Geller, Mayor. Mr. Mayor, the floor is yours. Okay, you're on mute.
Okay.
That's all right, Steve. That's the common word for all of us. I can't tell you how many meetings I've had where my son has said, Dad, you're on mute.
All right. Well, I'm Steve Geller. I'm the mayor of Broward County, and I'd like to give you our state of the county. Let's start with COVID. The county aggressively fought COVID-19 Our Broward County Parks, along with many other county agencies, stepped up to the plate at the beginning of the pandemic for PPE distribution and staging areas. We partnered with the Florida Department of Health in Broward to convert some of our largest county parks to COVID-19 testing and vaccination sites. Broward had developed one of the most well-researched plans in the nation for reopening. I had conversations with Dr. Fauci, the CDC, federal HHS, Florida Department of Health, Johns Hopkins, and others. We developed a proposal for reopening based on objective scientific metrics. The CDC told me that no other local government in the nation had submitted such detailed plans and questions. Of course, all of these are wiped out by the governor's orders, but at least we tried. Today, over 60% of Broward County residents over age 12 have received at least one dose of vaccine. This is one of the highest percentages in Florida and may in fact be the highest percentage. Let me also say that one of the reasons we were able to do so well was because of Shane Strum, who you just heard. Thank you, Shane, who was the governor's chief of staff. The major remaining problem is that the vaccination rate has plummeted. We need to reach somewhere between 70 and 85% of the total vaccination to be fully vaccinated in order to reach herd immunity. So please, everybody, get vaccinated. Let me discuss tourism very quickly. The Convention and Visitors Bureau led the way for Broward's tourism industry this past year by quickly developing and implementing recovery marketing programs, and I'll leave the rest of that to Stacy, who did a great job on this. Let me talk about Port Everglades quickly. The pandemic was very hard on our cruise industry, and we're looking forward to reopening our cruise lines. Remember that unlike some ports that are almost entirely dependent on cruises, Port Everglades has traditionally tried to be well diversified with a 1/3 cruise, 1/3 fuel, and 1/3 cargo mix, which certainly cushioned the blow. We just heard yesterday that the Celebrity Edge is scheduled to be the first cruise ship in the country to sail again with paying passengers when it heads out of Port Everglades on June 26th. However, Governor DeSantis has pledged to block the cruise because the CDC is requiring proof of vaccinations, which Florida opposes. I have no idea how this deadlock will be resolved, but we'll see. Film at 11. Our airport, currently Fort Lauderdale International, is one of the fastest recovering U.S. airports, with domestic passenger traffic projected to be at 2019 levels by the end of May 2021. Construction at the airport continues. We have an affordable housing crisis here in Broward. South Florida and the greater Orlando area have the two highest rates of housing unaffordability in the nation as a percentage of income to housing. We need more government-assisted affordable housing, but we'll never be able to build enough government-subsidized affordable housing. I believe that a critical part of the solution is to build more housing overall and rely on the law of supply and demand. I passed the plan through the county commission that will allow residential units to be built in areas that currently have commercial land use, that are along major transit corridors, and will require developers to include affordable housing units while also retaining commercial use. This transit-oriented development will also increase walkability and use of mass transit. Since I was elected to the county commission, my single biggest priority has been the creation of high-paying jobs. Skilled trade workers are aging out and not being replaced. We have a working group to address this issue. It is critical to the building trades, boating, aviation industries, and others. These types of traditional high-paying jobs can't be outsourced to other countries. And if we don't have these skilled trade workers, our economy will grind to a halt. If you don't yet know about the new Levan Innovation Center at Nova, which should be opening in September, you should. It is a business incubator with the full resources of a research university behind it, with the startup funding coming jointly from Nova and Broward County. I've been working with industry groups to promote the Marine Research Hub. The Tri-County area between University of Miami, FAU, FIU, and Nova has the highest concentration of university-based marine research anywhere in the country. It's been a well-kept secret that we don't want to be a secret any longer, and we're working to try and get that more well-known, to create more high-paying jobs in research and manufacturing. And finally, film. The commission has been working to support bringing good, high-paying film industry jobs to South Florida. We have extensive plans, which would take me too long to tell you about. We held the mayor's inaugural film summit 2 weeks ago. Nearly 40 participants from all parts of the industry attended. Plans are proceeding, and I'm out of breath, so I'm done.
Mayor,
Did I stick to my 5 minutes?
you did. You're good. We're gonna use you as the prototype. And Bernie did awesome too. I mean, you guys are all doing great. Everybody's
I kept editing the speech.
We're on schedule, and I appreciate that. And Broward Workshop is very much aligned with all the stuff that you're working on, particularly the technology focus. Thank you for your leadership on that. It's critically important. We want to become a tech hub that everybody recognizes across the country. Next is, I'd like to introduce Dr. Rosalind Osgood. She's chairwoman of the Broward County School Board. Rosalind is traveling, so she asked if she could record her message, and here's her recorded message.
Good morning, everyone. First and foremost, I want to thank the Broward Workshop for your continued support of our school district. It has been largely because of your support that the district has maintained stability in our school system and with our superintendent. Over the past decade, the stability has helped us to substantially improve, and we continue to be recognized nationally for our progress and innovation. Our graduation rate of 89.4% is the highest since 2011. At the same time, the gap between graduation rates of our Black and white students has decreased from 15.4 to 5.9%. Reading and math scores have also increased. Our high schools are ranked among the best in the nation by U.S. News and World Report, with 10 ranked in the top 10%. For the 5th consecutive year, our career and technical education students ranked #1 in the state for earning the highest number of industry certifications. We are named District of the Year by Cambridge International for the 2nd time in 4 years. This is unprecedented. No other district has been awarded twice by Cambridge. We are national leaders in computer science and the first district in the nation to partner with Code.org to provide opportunities for students to learn computer science as a part of their K-12 education. We have the largest speech and debate program in the nation. Many of our high schools receive free access to take a Yale University college course through a partnership between Broward Schools and the National Education Equity Lab. We are one of only 15 awardees in the nation to receive a $100,000 grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for Balance the Equation, a grand challenge for Algebra 1. The $3 million Reimagining Middle Grades grant from the Community Foundation of Broward, which was matched by the district, provides intervention programs at 10 middle schools for low-performing, at-risk students. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we provided 16 million free meals for students and families. We distributed 130,000 laptops, 6,800 iPads, and 3,000 hotspots. Under the board and Superintendent Ronsi's leadership, we have made significant operational improvements in areas such as transportation, healthcare, and purchasing that have yielded tens of millions of dollars in savings that we have invested in teacher salaries and classrooms. The Smart Bond projects that were made possible by voters passing the general obligation bond in 2014 are progressing. 127 renovation projects valued at $748 million are either complete are in progress. 1,336 roofs across 221 school campuses are being replaced or repaired. That's 17 million square feet of roofs, the equivalent of both sides of 595 Expressway. All technology, music, and art components are completed, as well as all athletic, track projects, and weight rooms. The district made a conscious decision to maintain its focus on what it does best, education. So from the beginning, we have outsourced smart bond construction management to some of the nation's most competent managers, CBR Heary and ACOM. We made it clear that we want all work done right and in the most cost-effective way, even if it takes longer than originally promised. Since residents voted to pass the general obligation bond, taxes have remained lower than historical levels. As we move to what we hope is the end of the pandemic, we're working to help our students recover from learning losses occurring during virtual learning. On June 21st, we are launching the largest in-person academic summer experience we have ever created at 91 locations. It offers our K-12 students morning and afternoon childcare, academic programs in the morning, and fun activities and camps in the afternoon. The summer experience spans 6 weeks and is free to all registered Broward County Public Schools students. We are working with the Department of Health and have started vaccinating our students. In the fall, our school campuses will be open for 100% face-to-face learning. We're working to secure an interim superintendent by the end of June. As the 6th largest school district, the search for a new full-time superintendent promises to be challenging. Superintendent Runcie has agreed to stay on until August 10th so that he can help with the transition. Our school board is prepared for this to be a lengthy process, but we have confidence in our top leadership, in administration, teachers, our staff, our parents, who are all our partners in their children's education, and in resiliency of our wonderful students. We look forward to a successful outcome. Again, thank you to the Broward Workshop for your continued support of our Broward County public education system.
Thank you, Dr. Osgood, for that video message. And she and Superintendent Runcie and the school board members have done a really fine job over the last number of years and have improved all parts of our school system. I know there's always criticism of anything, and that's the biggest, most complex organization in Broward County. I can tell you I've done a deep dive and for many years now, and I am proud of the progress we've made. I'm a graduate of Florinata Rickards. Back then it used to be junior high and Northeast High School, and then Public University, University of Florida. So I appreciate public education and the great work that they have done. And I'm very grateful for the work that those people do every day, and our teachers in particular. Next, my good friend and our president and CEO of Visit Florida, Stacy Ritter's going to give us an update. Stacy, tell us all the good stuff that's happening in tourism and Florida. It's exciting.
There's a lot of good stuff happening. What a difference a year makes. And I would like to say that I am a proud graduate of Piper High School, home of the Bengals. So I'm right there with you, Keith. So this time last year, I didn't have anything good to say. Tourist tax development revenues were down about 90%. Nobody was coming here. The future did not look particularly bright. There was no light at the end of the tunnel. And oh my God, 365 days later, things are going, knock wood, very, very well. The mayor's smiling. Thank you. We're going to compare to 2019. We're going to compare some numbers to 2019. because obviously if we compare to 2020, we would all look like we were geniuses in every single aspect of industry. So let's put it into perspective. January 1st through May 15th of this year, hotel occupancy was down about 12% compared to 2019. To put that in perspective, in January of this year, occupancy was down 25%. So we have made great strides. Our demand, which is the number of hotel rooms sold, has surpassed 2019 by 11% this week. We sold 2,700 more rooms nightly than we did for the same week in 2019. While hotel revenue to date is down about 24%, last week we were 24% in the opposite direction. Hotel revenue was up 24% last week as compared to 2019. It's all very positive news and real movement towards recovery. We're expecting a really strong summer season. As you know, the summer is traditionally a slower season here in Broward County. And while it may not be a record breaker, we know it will be much busier than normal. And the reason that we have tempered our future forecast for this is that for the first 5 months of this year, we had very little competition in Florida. We were the only state which was completely open, the only state where there was not a single statewide mandate for any COVID restriction. So as a result, we had no competition. But as more and more destinations open, and we've seen California start to open, we know that the competition will come back. Carolinas, the Northeast, the Caribbean, as those places open up, we'll naturally see some of the demand fade, but we still expect an incredibly strong summer season. The convention center is scheduled to reopen in the fall of this year, and bookings for groups are strong going into 2020, 2022 and beyond. And the opening of the convention center is actually the perfect time to recover for group business. And as you know, we closed the convention center in February of 20 for construction. And if we had had a crystal ball, we couldn't have planned a better time to close the convention center. We were initially very worried about all the business we lost, but I can truthfully say we lost no business at the convention center during COVID-19. And hotel construction hasn't stopped. Since early 2020, we have opened 11 new hotels here in Broward County for a total of 1,445 rooms. So the future is very bright for us, and the pipeline continues with hotel construction, with another 10 to 11 properties scheduled to open in late 21 or early 22. We're still concerned about jobs in hospitality. Everybody has heard the story about how difficult it is to recruit and retain workers in the hospitality industry right now. And we just ask everyone to have patience and be grateful that we can go to restaurants safely and eat securely there, but have patience with the staff because they are all short-staffed. As you heard from Mayor Geller, the Celebrity Edge will start sailing next month, which is great, because by this time in 2019, we had already welcomed 2 million cruise passengers, and we very much feel that the deficit there. But I'm going to end on this, and then I think Corrine has a video I want to show you. March collections for the tourist development tax doubled from a year ago. When compared to 2019, March's collections were only down 12%. And last year, I told you that April's tourist development tax revenues were down 91%. Well, I am very, very happy to say that the April tourist development tax was actually up 12% from 2019. So we have done an over 100% swing from April of 2019 to today. Finally, many of you know that we've rebranded the destination. We no longer call ourselves the Greater Fort Lauderdale Convention and Visitors Bureau, although we are still that. We call ourselves Visit Lauderdale. We did a lot of data and a lot of research about that. And over 80% of those who responded to our survey, which included our clients, our customers, our stakeholders, our residents, recognized Visit Lauderdale as something that would attract more visitors than any other name that we had come up with. So we have a new logo, a new tagline, everyone under the sun. Broward County is an incredibly diverse place, and at Visit Lauderdale, we believe that diversity weaves an incredible fabric, and that tapestry shows just how wonderful we are. So we are indeed everyone under the sun, proud of it, and we'll continue to market and promote what an amazing place we are. Because remember, No matter what it's like someplace else, it's 80 degrees here in December. And we're the only destination that has a branded beer. Gulfstream Brewery, our everyone under the sun beer.
I love it. Thank you, Stacy. And Visit Lauderdale is a great brand. I love it. I think that is absolutely on target. Thank you very much for the update. Thank you, Mayor Geller. That's good updates. This is what's beautiful about the state of the county. We get an update about what's happening, and we're so excited that tourism industry is coming back. And hopefully we're going to have more workers available starting pretty shortly. Next segment of our meeting today is our Broward Workshop Committee goals videos. To keep time straight, we've asked all of our committees to give a quick update about what's going on. Now, just to give everybody a frame of reference, Broward Workshop, we're looking to enhance the community and the business climate in Broward County and across South Florida. But at the same time, there's countless things that we could work on. We really want to focus on just a few, and we've identified 5 goals for Broward Workshop to focus on that we allow the committees to each have a couple of different goals on top of that. And so now we're going to show some videos of our committee goals and the process.
Hi, my name is Dennis Smith, and this is Joe Goldstein. Together, we are co-chairs of the Business Advocacy Committee. I'm happy to report to you that we have had a very successful year in meeting our goals. For instance, the federal courthouse was one of our priorities. We wanted to make sure it stayed in downtown Fort Lauderdale and got funded by the federal government. Together with Jack Seiler, we worked on that, and we have been, we believe, very successful. A downtown site has been selected, and we understand that has been funded for the purchase, so that we should be able to keep the federal courthouse in downtown Fort Lauderdale for the foreseeable future. In addition, the marine industry and the Marine Industry Research Hub have become very important to us. They were able to get together with another group called Ocean Exchange, and together that is going to be an amazing group of people that will move the marine industry issues forward for years to come. We've also been able to help them raise some funding from some of the counties. We work on that together with Howard Greenberg and with Phil Purcell. We also have been monitoring what's happening with the new bridge or tunnel crossing across the New River. George Platt and Randall Vitale have been working on that and keep us informed as to how it's progressing, and we're happy that we're hearing it's progressing very nicely. So with that, I'll turn it over to Joe.
Thank you, Dennis. Again, Joe Goldstein with Schutz and Bowen, and the co-chair of the Business Advocacy Committee with Dennis. First, a little bit about the Business Advocacy Committee. We do what the name suggests. We advocate to community leaders about our business interests. One of the interesting things, and you might have heard it from some of the other committee chairs, is that we allow and encourage non-Broward Workshop members to join our committee meeting discussions. So anyone who's interested in any of these issues, please reach out to Dennis or myself and we can add you to our committee. 3 other issues that we focused on this past year. One, of course, was healthcare because of the COVID crisis. And so during the course of the year, we heard repeatedly updates from the Chief Operating Officer of the North Broward Hospital District, or Broward Health, Alan Goldsmith, and also the Chief Operating Officer, the CEO, and our Broward Workshop member, Aurelio Fernandez from Memorial Health. And over the course of the year, we were able to raise our concerns through them to community leaders as to ways to ease through the COVID crisis and help business interests. And as we've seen vaccinations increase and infections decrease, we think we're on the right path towards that. One other important health issue that we wanted to make sure that we participated in this past year was the replacement for the Chief Executive Officer, the CEO for the North Broward Hospital District, or Broward Health. And we recommended Shane Strum, who we thought would do a fantastic job for that position, and he was hired. The other area that we wanted to have involvement in was to assist the Broward County Commission in hearing the needs of the business community for the selection of the replacement for Ms. Henry as county administrator as she's set to retire. And we again recommended Monica Sapero for that and are pleased that she was selected by the commission without going through the time and the expense of a national search. The last thing that we do as part of the Business Advocacy Committee is we engage in what we call Bravo meetings. And what Bravo meetings are a conversation with elected officials or other community leaders who might not be in the Broward Workshop and a small group of Broward Workshop members there. And in those meetings we have a thoughtful, personal discussion of what issues are important to the business community and what issues are important to those elected officials or other governmental leaders. Those are generally closed and only open to Broward Workshop members, but again, our committee meetings are always open to anyone in the community who has an interest in advocating for business interest to the community, so we welcome your participation.
Hi, I'm Rob Cornerans. I co-chair the Community Resiliency Committee with Rick Dira. We have some exciting news. On May 12th, Governor Ron DeSantis signed the Always Ready legislation. It's the most comprehensive flooding and sea level rise legislation to ever pass Florida legislation, and even the best in the country. Creates a $100 million annual available for local governments, and also creates a grant to do the studies of $28 million. Strongly recommend that each community uses that. If you live in a community they're not doing a study, there's grants available, there's money available. They also gave out a budget of $650 million dedicated to resiliency planning and infrastructure. This is a huge step forward. Also on the coral reef study, we got it back from NOAA, and it was nothing compared to what we needed. 20 years ago, we did the economic value of the coral reefs, and we wanted to update it. It was not even close to what we needed. So we're going back to the regional planning councils to get funding from everybody and do it right this time. Also on the sawgrass to seagrass education with Alligator Ron and Guy Harvey, we're launching a first series this summer with the Florida Virtual Schools. We believe that the K-12 education system with marine science and how the Everglades affect the ocean is huge, and to get these kids involved in what's going on in the environment. And the C-51 canal is on target. They announced it February 21. So that's my report for today.
Hi, I'm Kelly Shanley, President and CEO of the Broward Center for the Performing Arts, and together with Jarrett Levan from BBX Capital, we co-chair the Arts and Culture Committee at Broward Workshop. Our goal this year was to secure funding and support for the arts and culture sector that was hit so hard by the pandemic. We wanted to be sure that they could emerge from the pandemic with a foundation of support and act more robustly to contribute to our economic recovery. We did this through a combination of support from the federal government, Broward County, and private and corporate philanthropy locally. And I'm happy to report that many of these organizations will be on better footing because of those efforts. The last piece of that web of support will come from BAC, the Broward Arts Campaign. Led by Jarrett Levan, it's a partnership between Community Foundation of Broward, the Broward Cultural Division, Broward Workshop, and Business for the Arts Broward. Together, they've created a grant program that will bring in funding and support and offer grants to arts organizations for operational activities and events this fall. So, what can we expect? Well, many of our museums across the county have already been reopened and are offering great programs to the community. As we get to the summer, you'll see outdoor events happening and our summer camps returning to many arts organizations. By the fall, productions will return to our stages. We'll have local companies producing theater, touring productions returning to our community, and we'll all be back here in the seats, enjoying the shared experience of live performance together again. Thanks to everybody for the support you've given to the arts and culture sector to get them through to the other side of this pandemic, and we'll see you all back in the theater soon.
Hi, my name is Marcel Haywood.
And I'm Jeff Watts,
co-chairs of the Broward Workshop Education and Youth Advocacy Committee. Our committee firmly believes that academic excellence is the superhighway to economic development.
As a result, our focus is to continue driving the connection between K-12 education, Broward County's technical schools, and our world-class colleges and universities.
In President Hanbury at Nova Southeastern University, President Hale at Broward College, and President Kelly at Florida Atlantic University, we have several of the most respected leaders in academic institutions anywhere in the country. They are assets to our community.
Our role is to help strengthen the connectivity between higher education and the private sector in ways that are meaningful and impactful to business owners, unlocking the true potential, the unlimited potential of students and local businesses.
A few of the initiatives we're working on this year focus on tightening this connection between academics and economics.
First, support Broward County Public Schools, working with the district and other local community partners to tackle some of the greatest challenges and opportunities available in K-12 education.
Second, support Guy Harvey Virtual School Initiative. In partnership with Guy Harvey, we are advocating for funding of this amazing program touching the lives of students all over the world.
And finally, support the Broward Work-Based Learning Consortium, driving the creation and distribution of resources to business owners to help effectively implement internship programs.
We hope to continue to support all of your initiatives as we collectively unlock the power of academic excellence right here in Broward County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you to our committee chairs. We're going to break for a second and go to, we're going to get more committee updates in a little bit. The committees really try to make things happen or assist in all the organizations that are. So it's great work. We're going to introduce next our speaker, Dr. Jerry Parrish. Dr. Jerry Parrish is the chief economist for the Florida Chamber of Commerce. We're the only chamber in the country out of the 50 states, the state chamber that has an economist, and Jerry's reports to us every year. And it's exceedingly important for us to see what the state numbers are. Jerry, as we probably got you the word, we're running a few minutes behind. So if you can blast through your numbers, we always greatly appreciate your attention to Broward County and showing up here. And I love your bow ties.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. If they'll pop up my slides, we'll get started here. Always appreciate Broward Workshop and what you guys are doing. I wanted to show you a couple things. The Florida scorecard, we have changed since we last met. We were using the COVID-19 tiles on the top. We've actually gone away from those and going what we call the economic data tracker. But this is what the front page of the scorecard looks like. We've changed things. You can see jobs year over year. I'll talk more about that. We're up 766,000 statewide compared to last year. However, I'll compare that against the peak before COVID in a minute. But we've added a direct link to the Florida gap map right there on the tile that talks about third grade reading scores. That shows our Florida 2030 blueprint goal of 100% of kids reading at grade level here in the state. The next slide will show you the Broward County page. Once again, no longer, they'll go the opposite direction on the slides. I'm seeing COVID-19 deaths. There we go. There's a couple in between there, if you don't mind going back. One more back, please. No, I don't know how that got in there, but anyway, let's start here. Okay, what you're seeing now is the new economic data tracker. That's from Miramar, Pembroke, Pines. We're making the code available for these 4 tiles. You know, we had tons of local chambers, economic developers, even some cities and counties that put the COVID tracker up. So now we replace that with these. These are the tiles. Notice it talks about jobs, talk about kids in poverty, and our goal of having less than 10% of kids in poverty by 2030. You see the Broward numbers there. They're green. That means they're getting better. Third grade reading scores and the number of unemployed people. If any of your companies or your organizations that you're board members of and members of want the code to embed this kind of look for whichever county you want, we're making it available for free. All they have to do is contact me at the Florida Chamber Foundation. Now, this is the non-farm job series. You can see we're not up to the peak of where we were, more than 9 million non-farm jobs. And what you see on the scorecard now is just a year-over-year comparison against that very lowest point. So it is a little skewed. I'll show you those in a minute. The next slide will show you how we've recovered some of those jobs. Yeah, it's not my slide, but move on to the next one. And there we go. We'll start there. This is all industries in Florida and the percentage compared to the peak. Now, this is not a year-to-year look. This is compared to the peak in February of 2020. This is where you can see we're down more than 500,000 jobs still on the statewide basis. That's 5.5%. Leisure and hospitality, more than half, won't surprise anyone. More than 1 out of every 5 jobs we had in leisure and hospitality pre-COVID are still not back. Where we know that when we bring the tourists back, especially the international visitors, that will improve substantially. But remember, Florida is ahead on vaccination, and the U.S. is ahead on vaccination on many of those countries that visit Florida in big numbers. The next slide should show you the county over county. Here you see Broward pre-COVID, actually down 47,490 jobs. That's a 4.6% drop. It's a heat map. The darker areas have faced the highest percentage loss. I don't think it'll be a big surprise that Miami-Dade and the Orlando metro area have been the most affected by this. The next slide will show you the household pulse survey of here's the reason people are not working. When the Census Bureau does this, this is a weekly, this is April 28th to May 10. As far as all those people not working, I've got a little note down there. The reason they're not working for 44% of the people is they're retired, and that's more than 3 million people. But you can see who's laid off, who's not working, but they claim because of childcare. The third line there, did not want to be employed. That's 461,509. There's actually 461,900 open jobs. So as those people go back, the work requirement starts back next week. Some of the federal money will stop in a month or so here in Florida. I think you'll see those numbers improve. What's really important to know about Florida is on the next slide. You can see high wage jobs versus middle and low wage. And in this Opportunity Insights economic tracker, it comes out of Harvard, a high wage job is anything over 60,000. Notice that red line. Florida had more high wage jobs in June of last year than we did before COVID. Middle wage jobs recovered about October. Low wage jobs are still down 11.3% pre-COVID. Now the next slide will pop up the U.S. numbers. Notice that we're better off than all the average in the U.S. on every single one of these categories. Low wage jobs down more than 30% compared to Florida's. Florida's a big number, but the U.S. certainly is a lot worse. I really think that's a testimony to reopening the economy down here in Florida and getting the economy moving back again. I'm going to tell you, the Florida's better off than most states out there, almost all states with this number. Certainly, there's a lot of people still out of work, a lot of people, that are going to have opportunities. I believe we're going to see this fall. Certainly coming here soon when people return to the workforce and they haven't found a job yet, they will be counted as unemployed. So you'll see Florida's unemployment rate and Broward's as well will start going up, and especially by this fall when the kids are all back in school. I heard the folks from the school talking about they'd be open full time for classes this fall. Don't be shocked by the unemployment rate going up, and it could go up substantially because there's a lot of people that left the workforce. A lot of them are females. They stayed home to take care of kids. When you see, those workers come back, it's going to be good for companies. Some people that were working and have training back into the workforce, that'll make more people available. Don't be surprised by the spike in the unemployment rate. It's just going to happen, and it's not a bad sign. It just means more people are coming out to look for work that weren't, maybe haven't been for more than a year. But anyway, Mr. Chairman, appreciate the opportunity to be here. I suspect we don't have time for questions, but anybody can always ask me questions up here at the Florida Chamber Foundation. Thank you.
Yeah. Dr. Parrish, that is awesome. Great update. And you are a great source of information. I look at the Florida scorecard for Broward County and for the other counties that we do business in on a regular basis. And the scorecard is so valuable because it tells over time the trends that we're having and the impact that we've had on the decision. So thanks to the leadership of the Florida Chamber, what you offer. And I agree with you. I think our state has done a good job overall. We have some committee chair coming up, but I'm gonna flip-flop a few things. Our keynote speaker today is our friend Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Congresswoman for our area here, and she's going to give us an update. I believe Debbie is with us right now, and I'd like to respect her time. Debbie, how you doing?
Good, Keith. How are you? Good to see you.
Good. Family good?
Everyone's doing really well. Thank you. Just about to be empty nesters at the end of the summer. So.
Well, I can tell you it's not so bad. You get to go out to dinner whenever you want. I remember when my kids kind of left, it was stressful until they left. And then I was like, wow, this is okay. Yeah.
Well, we got, I would never have wished for COVID, but we did get a bonus year with them. So yeah. That was the silver lining for us of having gone through this horrific.
Well, thanks for joining us today on the Broward Workshop, State of the County, and give us your take on where we are, county, state, and obviously on a national and even an international level, and what you see some of the priorities and some of the things that you're working on and maybe what we should be aware of.
Sure. I'm mostly going to focus on what we're doing at the federal level and
yeah, that'd be great.
And sprinkle a little bit in with the bigger picture, but really thank you so much to all of you for welcoming me once again to the Broward Workshop State of the County Forum. We've all been through one heck of a year and a half. It's been incredibly difficult. We lost 600,000 Americans to COVID-19. Most of us have friends or family who were infected. Our lives were upended in so many ways, including that we're together virtually instead of in person. And I'll tell you, I know I'm thankful that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And that's been because we've been bolstered by a massive and well-organized vaccine supply and distribution system, quarterbacked by the Biden administration, and we're finally, hopefully, in the final phase of this crisis. Every American over the age of 16 is now eligible to be vaccinated. The Pfizer vaccine is also available for kids as young as 12. Moderna is applying for permission to start vaccinating 12 to 15-year-olds. And we have over 290 million vaccinations and counting now in Americans' arms. And that's resulted in more than 60% of all US adults receiving at least one dose. Our cases here in Florida are finally decreasing after some dangerous spikes. And that proves that the vaccines are doing their jobs. But we're not quite there yet, as evidenced by our gathering today. We all have to keep up the hard work of educating and persuading people to ensure that everyone gets vaccinated. But the good news about our trajectory presents new challenges, because now it's time to recover and rebuild. And I think no one knows better than the leaders in this group that we have a lot of work ahead of us. And I want to give you an overview of some important legislation that we've already passed and some items that we're still working on at the federal level. Back in March, you recall, Congress passed and President Biden signed the American Rescue Plan. That was a $1.9 trillion package to speed up our recovery and offer relief to people and businesses that are impacted by the pandemic. We got shots in arms, money in pockets, and are starting to get people back in jobs. And those are the goals of President Biden's ARP. $1,400 checks were sent to eligible Americans to keep their bank accounts stable. That completed an earlier $600 down payment from December. In Florida, economic impact relief went to more than 14 million adults and 4.9 million children. That's 89% of all adults and 89% of all children in the state of Florida. This package also revamped the child tax credit to give an added $1,600 per year to the families of 3.8 million children in Florida. And that amounts to $3,600 for children under the age of 6 and $3,000 for other children under the age of 19. That will help offset the financial cost of raising children, which we know for so many is an obstacle to actually even being able to get out and try to get a job, and lift 272,000 children out of poverty in our state alone. And better still, for many families, this money will be delivered into their bank accounts instead of being received as a tax benefit. This provision alone is expected to cut child poverty across the nation by as much as half. And as you all know, unemployment has been one of the most difficult challenges for millions of Americans and businesses during this pandemic. The American Rescue Plan thankfully expanded jobless assistance to ensure those who haven't been able to secure work are entitled to an extra $300 per week in benefits so that they can continue paying expenses. And I know there's a lot of talk about how, people are basically being paid to stay at home and they're refusing to work because, it's not worth it, or they're just, glad that they're getting the money and don't have to. That's really a myth. I mean, most of the reason why people are not working now and not able to seek work is because they have problems seeking childcare, and the economy has simply not gotten back up and running to the point where they're able to actually go out and work and spend the time, effort, and money to do that. So those were essential funds for those who are still struggling to find work and get their lives back on track so that they can. And that expanded offering of funds hasn't cost the state of Florida a dime. Unfortunately, our governor is callously ending this benefit at the end of June. You have basic expenses like rent or mortgage payments that have become a hardship for many Americans that are affected by either joblessness, added caregiving, or the general weight of this deadly pandemic. In Florida, an estimated 1 million renters, or 21% of renters, aren't caught up on their rent. And that's why it's so important that we provided $27.4 billion for emergency rental assistance programs. And those programs are administered by our county governments. Broward is struggling a little bit to get that money administered, and looking forward to working with Mayor Geller and our other county commissioners to help make sure we can get those resources out the door. Additionally, the American Rescue Plan provides $9.9 billion for a homeowners assistance fund, so we can avoid defaults and foreclosures. States are distributing those funds to eligible homeowners, and that'll help both landlords and banks and make sure that we get the economy tightened up again, and that all the systems are going to start working and coming back online. All of those measures will help our neighbors endure the economic conditions of this pandemic. But in order for them to thrive, we have to reinvigorate the economy and keep public spaces safe. A major component of that effort is ensuring that our children remain protected no matter what they're learning or where they're learning. About $125 billion are going to K-12 schools, with money distributed to each school based on our existing federal funding formulas. And Florida is set to receive over $7 billion. At least 20% of this funding has to be used to address learning loss, because we know that there are a lot of kids that struggled during the pandemic in virtual learning. And we've got to ensure that kids are still on track to meet those really vigorous education standards. The rest of the funds will help create a safer learning environment by repairing ventilation systems, reducing class size, implementing social distancing guidelines, purchasing PPE, and hiring support staff to care for students' health and well-being. We allocated $40 billion to higher education institutions for the same purposes and to support students in need. And additional funding and measures were put into place to specifically address equity issues so we can ensure that institutions can support low-income students and minority populations as well. Beyond schools, this legislation provides $350 billion to help states, counties, cities, and tribal governments cover increased expenditures. We know a lot of state and local governments were really hit hard, and especially in our state, because we rely so much on the sales tax, which obviously took a dip. Giving those local governments and state governments a bridge to get back to a full recovery was important. Florida is receiving $9.2 billion in state fiscal relief and $7.6 billion in local fiscal relief. And these funds have specific goals, including providing resources to constituents to help them access benefits, provide premium pay to essential employees, maintain government services affected by revenue losses, and more to directly offset the pandemic's impact. And very clearly, the state government was able to not really collapse and have to make dramatic cuts. In fact, they were able to do a lot of additional things like the $1,000 bonuses to teachers and principals that would not have been possible without these added resources. Every aspect of this legislation is geared to help people struggling in this pandemic. Owners of small businesses are no exception. The extended employee retention credit allows businesses to offset their current payroll tax liabilities by up to $7,000 per employee per quarter. And we have to ensure businesses remain stable if employees get sick. Neither the employee nor the employer should be suffering because someone's exposed to or diagnosed with COVID-19. So the paid leave credit program allows businesses to take dollar-for-dollar tax credits equal to wages of up to $5,000 if they offer paid leave to employees who are sick or quarantining. We also strengthened and expanded the Paycheck Protection Program and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan to ensure businesses continue to receive assistance. And I've done webinars for my constituent businesses throughout the pandemic to make sure they know they can get answers to questions about how to apply for that fund. Among other industry-specific programs, many of you know we created the Restaurant Revitalization Fund to help operators of eateries recover and continue supporting our communities. Eligible restaurant operators have received grants, not loans, of up to $5 million per location and up to $10 million total across all locations. And those funds are meant to cover losses from the last year, supplement employee pay, improve safety for their customers, and other permitted uses to revitalize our restaurants, which are critical in the state of Florida to our vibrant economy. I think I've covered the most important programs that will affect our community, but the American Rescue Plan includes much more to benefit everyone as we work through this pandemic. And some of those provisions impact people in this room directly, yet others might still be thinking, you know, Debbie, that's not going to help me at all. None of that applies to me. But the truth is these programs will impact every person in this room. The massive injection of funds into our local economy will create opportunities for business owners, employees, students, and families across all socioeconomic backgrounds. If you remember back to the Great Recession, when we passed the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, that was the turning point in the Great Recession when we halted the bleeding and started to turn things around and be able to create more jobs because of those investments. As a result of the American Rescue Plan, those who've been struggling will be able to get back on their feet. They'll need less help in the future, and they'll be able to get back to spending and putting resources into the economy. Investing in families and businesses upfront saves us from even costlier recovery and rehabilitation outlays later on. And the ARP is both rocket fuel and a safety net, and I'm proud that we were able to pass such an important historic piece of legislation. Our work isn't done, though. We're now working on the American Jobs Plan and the American Families Plan. And the American Jobs Plan will redouble our recovery efforts and allow us to build back even better than we were before we got hit with the pandemic. This plan is billed as an infrastructure package, but it's much more than that. And we're still negotiating a final package, but I want to give you a few highlights because it'll have major effects on Florida and Broward County. First, the plan will provide billions of dollars for projects to fix highways, rebuild bridges, and upgrade ports, airports, and transit systems, which we need a real shot in the arm to do. It includes modernizing 20,000 miles of highways and roads and repairing more than 10,000 bridges across the country, which is long overdue. Internet access has gone in our world from sci-fi to a privilege to a necessity in the last couple of decades. And this plan will bring affordable, high-speed broadband to every American, including the 35% of rural Americans who lack broadband access completely. It'll also refurbish our electrical grids and drinking water systems. And beyond that, the plan will also modernize our nation's schools, childcare facilities, veterans hospitals, and housing in need of retrofitting. Based on the physical infrastructure projects alone, This plan will create thousands of good paying jobs that will have a lasting impact on our communities. The American Jobs Plan, briefly, will also solidify the infrastructure of our care economy by creating new jobs and raising wages for home care workers. Having just lost my mom and knowing how vital home care workers are to making sure that you can have your loved one really age in place at home, I know how critical that is. That'll bring, the bill will also bring much needed funding to research and development programs, to secure US supply chains across industries, and to create career retraining programs for those whose jobs have been lost to technological advancements. Again, the final funding numbers and implementation are being negotiated, but I'm confident that this legislation will offer economic opportunity and long-term benefits to our entire community. Another blueprint for success that we're eager to pass is the American Families Plan, which will focus on modernizing our education system, providing much needed funding increases for K-12 schools, offering universal preschool education, and reducing the overall costs of raising a family. These two plans will go down in history as achievements that prepared our country for the challenges of the 21st century and beyond that. I know I focused on those initiatives today, but Congress has also been hard at work on a number of priorities, including solidifying voting rights, common sense gun safety laws, prescription drug pricing reform, and a lot more to improve the daily lives of all Americans. I know today's event is called the State of the County, and I hope my update about some of our key federal efforts has given you hope for the coming months and years. Obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty going forward for us, certainly. I've been really fortunate to work with the state and local elected officials in my district and across our community, because this was not something that we could really get through operating in silos. So having close coordination and communication, making sure that at the federal level, we knew what the needs were in our states and our local governments, so that we could, particularly with me as a senior appropriator, Keith, being able to be in the mix and vocalize on our community's behalf and our state's behalf what our needs were, and help tailor these resources to address some of the uniqueness that every community has. So thank you so much for the opportunity to join you this morning, and really thank you for all the work the Broward Workshop does.
Thanks, Debbie. Thank you for your leadership. Your senior level positions throughout Congress are certainly bear some fruit for Broward County. I got just a couple of questions for you. We got a couple of minutes, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Now, I know many people have been negatively impacted by this at enormous levels. But when we come back to this stage in our recovery, there's a fair amount of discussion about whether the $300 stimulus is keeping people at home or not. What I can tell you is that in our Broward Workshop meetings, many of our members, our company, City Furniture included, we're struggling getting enough people to come to work. But the hospitality sector of the hotels and the restaurants are simply telling me they can't even open up fully because they can't get enough people to work. You know, what's your advice to them? What's your point of view to them?
So, and I've spent a fair amount of time looking into this. And as I said briefly in my remarks, I know the perception, well, first of all, there's perception, and then there's reality. And then there's the very real experience that hospitality industry leaders are hearing from their own people. So certainly there are people who are saying, you know what, I can take a little more time because I have that cushion of the federal benefits before I decide what direction I want to go. But many hospitality industry employees, from what I'm hearing from leaders, are actually just not planning on going back to the hospitality industry job that they had before. Sadly, the hospitality industry is really not it's certainly not a lucrative way to make a living. And in many cases, they don't make enough money in it, even without the, particularly without the extra money from the federal fund to be able to live. In Florida, I think our, with the bump in the COLA, we're a little over $8 now in the minimum wage. Someone who works a 40-hour work week, Keith, cannot sustain a family and pay all their bills on that lowest a paycheck. So many of them are going back to some of the retraining funding that I talked about and leaving the industry that they were in before, particularly the hospitality industry, because it just doesn't pay enough. I think people have had a lot of time to rethink their lives and the direction that they're going. But then also a lot of childcare issues have made it very difficult for folks with an erratic schedule to be able to come back.
Yeah, hopefully once the schools are reopened in the
Yes.
fall, we'll have a lot more.
I think that's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, I hope so too. Speak for a second on resilience. We're a coastal community in a world of coastal communities, in a world where wherever you land on the science, the economics of resilience are very important to us because there's a forecast of property insurance raises and other risks associated to us. It seems to many of us in the Broward Workshop, we could use more effort in terms of coming up with a comprehensive plan that all the communities can follow, where there's one sense of direction that is pointed out based on good science, not on the standpoint of whether you agree or not, but on here's what to do with the realities of
right. Never mind the cause, because the reality is we're dealing with climate change no matter what the cause, and we're dealing in particular with sea level rise.
Yeah. So the economics and the mitigation of resilience, where do you see Congress and the administration moving forward there?
That's where the American Jobs Plan and the infrastructure bills that we're working on will really make a big difference, because communities are going to need resources. I know how much I represented Miami Beach for many years, and I know how much Bill Levine, when he was mayor, invested in raising their roads. I mean, that's a community that is living the impact of sea level rise right now. I always only half jokingly say that in 20 years I'd be representing Orlando, which would be a coastal community if we don't do something. And that's only a little bit funny and somewhat reality. I took a trip up to the Panhandle after Hurricane Michael hit up there because I chaired the military construction appropriations subcommittee, and they don't have the South Florida Building Code up there, and the military was required previously to just rebuild when the military bases were devastated and leveled up there. They would previously be required under federal law to just rebuild to the standard that it was at before the impact. And so that obviously was unacceptable. We made it allowable for them to go beyond those standards, and the local community decided to use the South Florida Building Code, which obviously has protected us since Hurricane Andrew hit us in 1992. So we need to both focus on making sure that we're putting resources in that allow communities that don't have anywhere near the budget to be able to bring those resiliency infrastructure provisions into their communities. And also we have to make sure we make policy changes that don't have us continuing to do stupid things that would just, look, what that would do, Keith, is it affects my ability to do my job, because I go back, we get a lot of stink eyes from our colleagues who wonder, why are we continuing to put resources into coastal communities like we are in Florida, in Hurricane Alley, and we get hit by a hurricane. I mean, South Florida, we did the right thing, but other communities have not. And, having to continuously put federal funding in, to rebuild those communities, our non-coastal friends in Congress look at us like, why are we subsidizing you to live in a place that maybe you shouldn't live anymore? And we want to obviously mitigate against that, because obviously we all want to be able to live in the beautiful coastline that we're so fortunate to be able to live in.
Yes, you're right. Debbie, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And we will continue to have those conversations, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone. Stay safe.
We're going to roll. The last part of our presentation today is the last few committees, Broward Workshop committees.
Good morning. On behalf of my co-chair, Sean Davis, and myself, we thank the Race, Equity, and Social Justice Committee on what it has accomplished in the 7 months since the Broward Workshop membership approved our RESJ statement and this committee was formally constituted. We established 3 goals, and the first was overwhelmingly selected as the first of the 5 priority workshop goals this year. Our number one goal is to identify and support external initiatives which align with Broward Workshop goals and further race equity and economic mobility for our county's Black residents. We will support education and the Florida Chamber third grade reading level program by adopting 2 established reading programs for our members to support in targeted zip codes. We're also supporting workforce development through Broward College's Broward Up to train and certify workforce for entry-level jobs in 5 targeted zip codes. The first phase includes 7 workshop members, companies, supporting over 200 certifications and entry-level hirings. The second goal is to educate and support Broward Workshop members on D&I programs. We have had over 25 members participate in implicit bias trainings. The committee will also host the recently elected Black constitutional officers on a panel at a fall membership meeting. And our last goal is to encourage D&I values and considerations throughout the Broward Workshop structure by encouraging diverse membership, presenters, and programs, and building a unique dedicated D&I portal on the Broward Workshop website. We will build this portal and provide content such as the workshop's position statement and coordinating with external partners to distribute a baseline survey on Broward's corporate D&I initiatives, also for inclusion on the portal. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Christopher Leonard, a co-chair of the Broward Workshop's Technology Committee. We were honored to have our committee's goal be selected by Broward Workshop as one of its top 5 goals for 2021. The specific goal is to enhance Broward County and Greater Fort Lauderdale's visibility and recognition in the national rankings of top United States technology hubs. To do this, our strategy is to collaborate with Tech Lauderdale, the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance and its CEO Council, Broward College, Nova Southeastern University, and the Levan NSU Broward Center of Innovation to create and implement strategies showcasing Broward County and Greater Fort Lauderdale as a top U.S. technology hub. Our next step is to publish an informative and professionally researched paper highlighting our area's successes in the technology sector, including interviews with key contributors to the region's growth in technology. We plan to update this document every year as our area's achievements grow. Broward County is a great place to be for technology companies. If you know of any strong technology leaders, we're always looking to add great people to the Broward Workshop Technology Committee. Thank you for attending the State of the County, and Broward County is truly made better by us all working together to enhance its technology ecosystem.
Hello, my name is Tim Petrillo. I'm the CEO of the Restaurant People. I'm here with my good friend Ina Lee, who is the owner of Trail House Media. Together, we are the co-chairs of the Broward Workshop Tourism Committee. As Stacy told you, tourism is once again booming, and it wasn't that case a year ago March. I was appointed to the governor's task force of reopening the state and also the mayor's task force of reopening the city. We developed guidelines for bars and restaurants for safety and opening protocols.
And I serve on the Federal Reserve Board of Atlanta's Tourism and Travel Council, and we've been dealing with issues of the pandemic on a regional basis. Now, along with Heiko Dobriko, Vice President of the Los Olas Company, Tim and I co-chair the Tourism Coalition, which is an ad hoc group of tourism stakeholders that have been meeting weekly since a year ago March, dealing with all the tourism-related issues caused by the pandemic. And Tim also serves on the Tourist Development Council and as such is chair of our Marketing Advisory Committee of our Convention and Visitors Bureau, and I serve as its co-chair. Now, the Tourism Committee of the Broward Workshop has had 2 major priorities that were actually developed before the pandemic. One was full funding for Visit Florida, which is the state's funding mechanism for marketing tourism in the state of Florida. And good news, it was funded in this legislative session for $75 million, 25 of which came from the federal CARES Act money. And Tim's going to talk about our second priority.
Our other major goal was to monitor the progress of the western expansion of the Convention Center Hotel, which I'm pleased to announce it's on track to open this October. We are also monitoring the resumption of the expansion of the Convention Center and all funding sources for its headquarters hotel, which at this time has been put on hold because of the pandemic. We will be monitoring this closely, and it should have more news about that after the Broward Commission breaks for summer recess. Together, Ina Lee and I are working hard to bolster our tourism industry here in Broward County because it's our #1 economic engine.
Randall Vitale and I co-chair the Transportation Committee of the Broward Workshop, where we focus on land, air, and sea. Our two great economic engines, Port Everglades and FLL, the airport, have massive master plans that will implement billions of dollars in projects, including expansion and modernization of the airport and the harbor deepening project that will make us a modern seaport for new expanded commerce and cruise ships. The last 6 years, we've focused particularly on the coastal link. That's the FEC corridor, where we want to see it work alongside SFRTA and Tri-Rail and have passenger rail in the FEC corridor. We are working with Brightline, we're working with the county, we're working with FDOT and all of the stakeholders to pull together the agreements, the studies, and ultimately the funding to make this a reality. In addition, we are working with the surtax projects in Broward County to implement the 2018 tax. In doing that, we have leadership positions on the oversight board, the nominating committee, and we're working on various projects. Overall, this is extremely important to help Broward County keep this mobilization program going forward and to give Broward County a modern, efficient, sustainable transportation program. Thank you.
Good morning. The Urban Core goals we are currently working with deal with three areas: downtown parks, mobility, and affordable housing. Number one, parks in the downtown, specifically the Tunnel Top Park, funded through FDOT and the city's $200 million parks bond. Construction is slated to start in 2022 and be completed in 2023. The most important issue pending is the coordination of the construction of Tunnel Top Park with potentially the fifth phase of the redevelopment of Los Olas Boulevard. Members of the Broward Workshop have been participating with the city's Los Olas Working Group, which helped guide the conceptual master plan for the Los Olas Boulevard for the redevelopment from Andrews Avenue all the way to the beach. We will continue to provide input and assist with the coordination of the construction schedules to minimize the disruption of the shops area of the Los Olas redevelopment. Even more important is the redevelopment of the former one-stop shop into a public park. We're advocating and will continue to advocate the city provide more open space and a truly public park for the upcoming Flagler Village area, rezoned for high density and built or slated for more than 5,000 new residential units in the downtown. The city is in the process of reviewing an unsolicited proposal, or P3, for this site, which includes a music venue and culinary experience within a park setting. Note, Flagler Village community has today only 1.3 acres of park, Peter Feldman Park, in its entire 300 acres. Not to mention, this site has been designated a public park and promised such by previous governments bodies for over 30 years. There will be a call to action from Flagler Village, and when this item is slated for public hearing, we will be asking you for your assistance. Number two, the city is also working with the PACE Foundation, supported by an advisory panel, including members of the Broward Workshop. This group is in the process of developing an overall master plan for an approximately 20-mile trail system in Fort Lauderdale. This is part of the Urban Core's overall goal of increasing mobility in our downtown. The master plan study started in February of this year and is scheduled to be completed by October. Number three, and probably one of the most important goals for the Urban Core, is affordable housing. We have established a new subcommittee within the Urban Core headed by Walter Duke, and he will give you an update. Walter?
Good morning. Affordable housing has been a key initiative of the Broward Workshop since 2017. During that time, much progress has been made due to the collaboration of many, including Broward County and the City of Fort Lauderdale. Today, there is consensus among government, business, and nonprofit organizations about the important role that affordable housing will play moving forward in the enhancement and sustainability of our economy, in the implementation of policies to promote social justice, racial equality, and economic resiliency, and to reduce homelessness. Working in conjunction with other stakeholders, it has been determined that the key remaining missing piece is a dedicated annual funding source that is sufficient to leverage significant additional dollars to accommodate an ample pipeline of affordable housing. The Affordable Housing Subcommittee is committed to helping create the financial resources needed to stimulate the development of a greater and more diverse affordable housing supply in Broward County. That's our report. Thank you.
Thank you, committee chairs. And it's really heartwarming and encouraging to see the wonderful work that's being done at our committee level throughout Broward Workshop. I am proud of the team's efforts. We're trying to advocate for all the right stuff for our community. And that kind of brings us to a conclusion for today's State of the County Forum. We are Broward Workshop working to build a better community for Broward County, better quality of life for everybody, and better environment for our business community. We're on schedule. I'm grateful for everybody attending today. And I want to wrap up by saying, all of you care about Broward County like all of Broward Workshop does. And you all are working to build in your organization, in your entity, a brighter future for all of us. And so I'm grateful for that. That's why I'm proud to call Broward County, Fort Lauderdale, actually I live in Plantation, my home, and I'll be there until I get carried out. And I'm proud my kids and my grandkids have built their families and are building their lives here in Broward County too, because I think it's the best place to live, any place in the whole world. All right, everybody, signing off from Broward Workshop's 13th Annual State of the County Forum. Thanks for all the speakers. Thanks for everybody attending today. And thanks for Karine and Jose for running our little presentation here today. We're delighted. And next year, we're doing this in person. We're going to go back to in person. We can't wait. So I can give everybody a hug. All right. Thanks, you guys. Have a great day.